Um, I don't know, do you still think that we should run on nuclear energy and that we should store nuclear energy in that Yucca Mountain?
Absolutely. I think that that's the biggest mistake that this society is making is to get away from fission energy because it's really, really the only viable environmental solution.
You really
And
believe that?
absolutely I do. Absolutely I do. And I think that what they have to do is get off their butt, get off their high horses and finally get to understanding that they just have to come up with the reasonable means of transporting the waste or reprocessing the waste properly. They're worried about not reprocessing on site, because of terrorist reasons. I guess that's that's the big thing. But I think that obviously research into fusion has to happen. But I really believe that in this moving away. And just you have to put them in safe places. You can't do like Fukushima. You can't put them in place. That's like an ill design. That's the reason that it didn't work. It wasn't that nuclear energy is the problem. It's because they built it in a stupid place. Build them in the right places. Obviously you have to.
Oh, and Nevada is a much better place.
Yeah,
So much
it
more
is.
geologically sound, right?
Well, I think so. I mean, yeah, there's some earthquakes. So you have to worry about building them earthquake-proof, obviously. But yeah, I do believe I'm a child of that generation. When that promise was made, and I still believe it. It's just you have to continually advance the. I know that other countries are going away from it. Germany's going away from it. I don't know, but I still believe that because what other alternative are you gonna do?
Wait, so did they? There were countries that were running on nuclear power, weren't there?
Like France is 90% nuclear.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and then the majority of Germany's nuclear, but I think they're starting to go away from it a little bit.
Do you have any idea why they're going away?
Forgot. I heard
Is it because they have no place to store it?
It might be the.
Like, where are they storing it in freaking France?
They reprocess it. They
Okay,
reprocess it. You can reprocess, but the problem is that the reprocessing opens up the risk of creating a material that can be bombified. And so we are ultra conservative that way. So we don't reprocess, that material. But you could set up these enrichment facilities, or whatever, reprocessing facilities. And
I already cut it in half. Do you want half?
they didn't. No.
I'm not gonna eat the whole thing.
Well, you just much as well.
Anyways, well, I mean that's a good one. I don't agree. But I don't know a lot about it, but I just don't agree on principle. So.
Oh, you don't agree on principle?
I don't know. Hold on. Okay. I guess.
I didn't know what your position was. I thought you agreed with me.
No, I don't. No, I don't agree. That's why I brought it up because I know
okay.
that we disagree on this because I don't understand.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so. I don't understand the subject.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
So I guess you get it, you support it because you grew up with this stuff, right?
And to me, it's like if it's properly done, it's no greenhouse gases. It's the cleanest possible energy.
Well, what about solar?
No. You have to have solar. Obviously, you have to. Oh, that's what Germany's doing. It's not that they're going away from nuclear, but they're like 60% of their power is now from solar.
I read the most interesting article on that. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like a grassroots solar power movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just individual people in their cottages, like putting up solar panels.
Yeah. Oh, no, the whole thing with solar's a travesty. Solar should have been invested in and worked with 150 years ago, or 130 years ago. And I actually I saw a documentary on this, where there was a lot of it was at first it was going to be solar to help with irrigation. Mm-hmm. And then it was desalinization. There was various things that they were using it for like that, and they were doing it in the Middle East, and then they decided to do it with coal or something or oil or whatever, and it was because it was like a political decision really, and they nixed it in the very beginning, just like electric cars were at the very beginning when cars were first invented. They had electric cars, and then they got rid of them.
They like suck.
Well, they probably did because they didn't. They obviously, they were. So did the gas cars, so they didn't know much different, right? As long as it moved for 10 feet, electric, gas, whatever, it doesn't explode, so it's better. It might be better,
So, nuclear. All right. So, why aren't we using nuclear then? Just because of the terrorist thing?
No, there's people are worried because when nuclear accidents happen, they're a very, very big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, I think it's really been, you had several bad accidents. You had 3 Mile Island in New York or Pennsylvania, wherever it was, which was really bad, right? Then you had Chernobyl, obviously, which was disaster, an explosion. We don't have reactors like Chernobyl. No. And then they had we don't have that.
What about Hanford? What happened there?
Hanford is a product of World War II. It was the first place where they enriched uranium, and they were extremely messy when they were doing it, and then the way they stored things was not a permanent solution, and now all that stuff is fucking leaking. I'm sorry, I'm recording this. It's all leaking, and it's like leaching into the. I mean, it's an absolute disaster. And I actually still not sure I trust that part of the Columbia River. I still think they lie to us,
Well,
That's the other.
So then when you propose that we switch to nuclear energy, I guess what you're saying is like, if we could invest in it and like really make it a movement the way that Germany did solar power
and work on it. Yeah, you want to invest in solar. Obviously, you have to really invest in solar, and use nuclear and continuing innovations and developments. To work because again, I believe that the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt surrounding nuclear, is greater than the reality of the actual risk. But doesn't mean that there isn't a risk, doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of care that you have to take, and it doesn't mean that it's not a threat. But we could work towards, you just have to be really especially careful with it, obviously, and you have to try to, anyway, that's just my thought, because, you take that versus what? Clean coal?
Well, no, I mean, I don't support clean coal. God, no.
I mean, just that even concept that they even do that propaganda BS, that they even say something like, there's no such thing as clean coal.
No, I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
No one should ever be burning coal, period.
No.
As
we say in our gas-powered, super eco-loser movie.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand. No, okay, whatever. Point taken.
I love my truck.
Point taken. I agree.
This truck probably has better gas mileage than that will do.
Unfortunately.
God.
Yeah. It's not that we don't want to change it, it's just we're economically stuck right now, and that's part of the issue with all this energy. I mean, when I went to work for the oil company, I seriously thought about it. I thought, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? It wasn't an easy decision. And then I realized that I would be hypocritical to say, well, I can't go work for an oil company, and yet I drive around in a... Do you want me to close this? Okay. And yet I drive around in a gas-powered vehicle. So why can't I work for the oil company?
Yeah.
But, anyway.
Okay, so issue at hand. Okay, so your point of view is that we should switch to... We should not be focusing on ridiculous things like clean coal, and instead that the energy would be better spent if we focused on clean versions of nuclear power, and that largely all the fear around it is unjustified and it's based on outdated technology, and really it could be developed into something safe.
Not fully safe, no, but in terms of the fact that there are no perfect solutions, I think it offers. Again, if your priority is, and to me a priority, this global warming thing is a real big issue, and so for me getting that fixed is, or addressing it is important. And if you, and again, it's not at the expense of solar, so it's just a matter of, because what's happening is they're closing the nuclear power. There's not a new one has not been built since 1978.
Yeah.
And they're all getting old, and they're closing them down because just public doesn't want them, and that's it. And I think they just don't want them. They're going away from it, and yet our energy requirements continue to rise. And so, what are we doing? We are actually burning coal. We are actually burning gas. We're burning. We're doing this ethanol crap too.
Oh God, the ethanol thing, man. So, as a member of the public that knows nothing about this, I don't understand why we can't put that energy into solar instead. Like, why go to something like nuclear that's just got so much opportunity for like huge problems to happen when you could do solar like Germany? Like, is that not going to give us enough power?
Well, that's the same thing with me. I don't know enough about it. Maybe it can, and I think we should invest in it. I mean, but I mean, look at this. We have 4 reactors in Eastern Washington, nuclear reactors that we built, right? And I think only 1 is operational. And we called it what? The Washington State Public Power Supply System, or WHOOPS, of all things, the unfortunate, acronym. And they hate to call it, when you say WHOOPS, they hate that. Like we call it the supply system, sir. So, so I actually did work out there, and I actually did a tour of the place and everything, and you can see the reactors out there in the desert, and they're mothballed, and you think, what the hell, they argue against hydro, right? Because hydro does all these problems with environmentals and everything, right? So then, all right, so let's do the solar. Well then, or the wind. Okay, fine, but it's not, I don't know why we don't invest more in it. I honestly don't know. But you got these things. You could turn them on. You could feed them some food, and turn them on, and they could power the whole state. They could power the whole region. So
now you're just wanting to use the old, outdated technology again, when you were saying before that you wanted to.
Well, I'm saying that I'm saying that here's stuff that exists, right? It's mothballed not because it's broken, it's, as far as I know, it's not because it's broken. It's not that they had a leak or anything. It's not like 3 Mile Island, right, which was broken. But these are not broken reactors, and they could be, maybe their technology isn't the newest. I don't know. But you could put some fuel in them, and you could fire them up, and they wouldn't pollute anything. Now, yeah, they produce all of that waste, and you'd have to figure out the storage problem, and the transportation problem. So maybe that's the whole thing, that's an impossible thing for people to figure out. I don't know. But I'm just saying that it's there, and
I do agree that, like, probably a lot of the reason we don't do it is because of just public sentiment.
It's public sentiment. That's what it is.
I know how I feel about it.
I know, because you're probably scared of it, right? Listen, I don't know if there's anybody more scared of radioactive material than me. I mean, I'm scared to death of it. I really am. Just the very thought of getting some on me or something is like, some people are scared of spiders. To me, that's like the ultimate. It's like, because you don't know what, where it is, and suddenly you're contaminated, and you're permanently contaminated. It's not like some disease. It's like, yeah, it's like the flesh-eating bacteria or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's scary as hell. And the other problem with it is, and I'm kind of thinking out loud here. So I'm not sure if this is an argument or not, but
I know, no one's screaming.
when I think about it, there's so much misinformation and suppression of information on the subject
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard to really make an intelligent decision, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I feel too.
Yeah.
It's like I just don't even know what I don't know about all of it. I support solar, but then it's like I don't even know a thing about it, you know?
I want solar too. I mean, to me, when I hear things that they can put solar even in Netherlands, you know.
I mean, they do it in Germany.
In Germany, yeah, Germany, where it's, you know,
Give me a
it's
break.
like here, it's like really cloudy all the time, right? You know, it's like all of
I
Europe's
think
that
they're
way.
higher up, aren't they?
Oh, no, they're way up. They're way higher up than we are. Way higher up. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like,
so
you
in
know,
winter it's like...
Alberta or something.
So... No, I think this is good. I think
So,
this is good.
you know, so it's a disagreement in terms of, I see your point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking that,
I see your point. I mean, I totally get it, you know? It's not an issue about, like, what kind of, you know, energy we should be looking at. It's more that we should be looking at all and allowed to look and allowed to decide with proper information.
I know something that we disagree on.
What?
Fracking.
We disagree on fracking?
I betcha.
I don't agree with fracking.
I agree with fracking.
You agree with fracking?
I do.
Okay,
I agree with fracking.
go on.
I agree with fracking, and it's again, I think it's a short-term thing, because I still think, you know, in the broader conversation that we just had,
How can we invest money in short-term things?
because I want the United States to literally break its dependence on the Middle East. I want us never to buy a drop of oil from the Middle East. I don't want any Middle East oil. I know it's clean oil, it's light, but I don't want any of it.
No, I mean,
And we have to get our way. Otherwise, we're always held hostage. And I want nothing politically to do with the Middle East. I want nothing to do with Israel. I want nothing to do with all of those other Arab nations. Those guys hate us, and I figure, okay, fine. You know what? We don't need to bother you. We'll get out of your way, let you self-determine your whole region, and you know, and in the same token, don't hold us hostage. So now we have this opportunity, and we never had this opportunity before, ever in history. And fracking is giving it to us, and I know that fracking is damaging to the environment, but from the political perspective, my balance is tipping towards, and believe me, if I lived in Dakotas, you know, or in Pennsylvania where they're doing it, I'm sure that I would think the opposite, because those people have to suffer the consequences.
To me, it's not an environmental issue about... I mean, I totally get everything that you're saying, and I actually agree with all of it, you know? But to me, it's not an issue of, like, oh, it's bad for the environment in the Dakotas, and, you know, this gives us an opportunity to do this. It's that I just feel like I don't want anything to do with oil, you know? I don't care where the oil's coming from, and I don't want to give them...
That's not a short-term thing. You're not going to solve that problem short-term.
But we're not gonna...
What's the problem?
I don't know enough about it, you know? I don't know enough about any of this.
See, this is where you know, you can stand on principle, kind of like, you know, when you get, you know, some people, you know, they'll say, well, I just can't handle the principle of it. And I understand that position, but the reality is the world isn't there yet. And so if you want to move towards that direction, you end up having to compromise. And so that's the compromise that I'm willing to make. And I know that one is one that I'm a little uncomfortable with that decision. But I'm making that decision. I'm for fracking right now. And it's given us this. We're number one oil producer or energy producer now in the world, and it's all because of fracking.
I mean, I get that it's a short-term solution, and it would work in that way. It would work for the short term, but it doesn't address the core issue. That's my problem, and then it just delays it. So it's like if we're not going to address the issue of we can't use oil anymore today, now when we have this opportunity, when we have this impetus saying we don't want to be on Middle Eastern oil, instead of going, well, let's find a different way of having energy, we're just delaying it, you know. So
here's my proposition. This is consider the following scenario, right? And which is where right now what the Saudis are doing are undermining this scenario. Fracking only works when oil prices are like above $100 a barrel. Then it's economically viable. And that's the reason we were able to establish this industry. Now, if gas is selling at $3.50, $4 a gallon, there is impetus for people to economize. That's expensive. So they want to buy the hybrid cars or the electric cars. They want to buy the high mileage cars. And you start to, especially if you see this thing with the Tesla, now Chevrolet is going to come out with a 200-mile plus electric car, right? And you start building an infrastructure with, electrical refueling centers, recharge centers, and, where you, then start to shift the focus because it's all being driven by high oil prices, right? So if we made a commitment that we are going to support our fracking industry, and that industry is only going to produce economically if oil is 100 some a barrel, and we would have to then impose tariffs on everybody else that were just prohibitively expensive so that they just it wouldn't be economically viable to bring the cheap oil in here. We would just literally put an embargo on it. We would just say, okay, we're going to rely on our own oil industry, be self-sufficient, and now it's super expensive, so we're not going to use as much of it. Now we have to start converting to other methods, and then in the same process increase the solar, increase the nuclear, whatever, the hydro, whatever, so that we can and increase the efficiency of the vehicles, and that way in a 20, 30, 40 year span make a conversion, and that'll also give then the oil companies or the energy companies, then we have to redefine as an energy company, to then start to look at transitioning into these other methods as well, as we then decrease our dependence on it. That's my thought. Our politics will never agree to it.
Yeah.
You'll never pass that tariff.
Yeah.
And you can see it now. I've even heard people talking about it, and they're saying, yeah, it'll never happen. It's
the weirdest thing, because I kind of support tariffs often. And I always think, oh, well, that seems fine. I'm cool with being an isolationist country.
Yep.
Yep. And then somehow all of a sudden it's like you get onto like the wrong side of conservatives again, and it doesn't feel like that's the way it should be.
Yeah, it's weird.
You're like, no, I'm on the no, I'm not. I'm not. Oh, okay.
But you're absolutely right, because there is a lot of conservatives who would want to be isolationists. Well, so there's different types of conservatives. There's those that are hawks that want to go bomb the hell out of everybody on Earth, and then there's those who just want to get in their bunker and live off grid, right?
Yeah, I like those guys.
Well, there's something to be said about it.
There's a lot to be said about
that. Their points are not exactly totally screwy. They have valid points about it. It's all a question of who they hate and who they despise and who they fear. I'm doing an awful lot of talking.
No,
here.
It's good. It's fine. I get what you're saying. All your positions seem to be coming from, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's the solution that's not perfect but could happen now. We could turn the reactors on now.
Exactly.
I get that,
Yeah.
and we could figure it out inside it, on our own in here,
Yeah.
and it would buy us time and get us off of this like toxic system that we've
Get
got
off the
going.
toxic system, exactly. Because which is the worst evil?
Mm-hmm.
Oil is the worst evil, or coal, or all of that dirty stuff. That stuff you can't. All this. Look at what. I mean, it's making me almost cry. I mean, just look at this global warming thing. What's happening? And
Gotta love February. It's like 60 degrees.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, yeah, we'll survive. There's nothing that's really hurting us. But look at California.
I'm telling you, buy land. Buy all the land you can get.
No, seriously.
Go buy land in Duval.
Absolutely. I mean, they're talking now. Listen, my mother's calling me, telling me that that's what people in California are saying.
No, like my
we have
friends,
to move up there.
Yeah.
To survive, we're gonna have to move up where you.
I've been telling you this for a while now.
I know.
I'm so dead serious. I'm not joking.
I know.
When I say we should be buying land, I am so serious.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. There's no way that the Northwest is going to lose value anyway. It's
it's not going to lose value.
It's not going to lose value.
No, I think we've pretty much done this exercise to death. This video is like 30 minutes long.
Yeah, I know.
It's good. Trying to think. Is there anything we didn't? We pretty much covered all of this just inadvertently.
You gonna finish that sandwich?
Shut up! I was hungry.
No.
It's really good. No.
Okay.
Go away.
Okay. Well, there's something we could disagree on.
You could buy your own damn sandwich. Actually, you did buy this sandwich. Thanks for the sandwich.
That's funny.
How do you feel at the end of your conversation? How does this feeling compare to your usual feelings after discussing controversial issues? I think, I'm personally, because I don't want to disagree with you on a lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I usually just figure, because it's all these, small things,
Yeah,
they're not small, but...
Yeah.
I guess I just figure, whatever, we just disagree. But it's no, I mean, I get what you're saying, I get that I'm probably not 100% right all the time, too.
Well, also, and it doesn't mean that I'm right, because, and a lot of it's because we don't have full information.
Mm-hmm.
So, I am maybe of this opinion, but if I had more information, I might say, okay, I understand now why you're not turning those reactors on.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get. So I accept the fact that my position could be swayed if I, got more, with a good argument with facts, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be driven by facts. Mm-hmm. But the principle, the principle thing, I think we agree on the principle. I'll tell you, one time I had a really great conversation. This is just on the subject of disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
There was one conservative guy that I really am grateful for having the conversation with him, because he was a very nice guy. And I asked him, I said, I just don't get it. I go, how can you, because he's a Christian and everything, and he's a real conservative, he wants no government, and he's ultra right-wing, right? I go, I don't understand how you can take that position, because to me it seems like ethically, I mean, as a society, there's a certain balance that we have to achieve, and the government has to play a role in that. And he says, he said, I just feel that as a matter of principle, that is not government's role. That government should not, that just as a rule, that the government should provide for your defense and maybe provide some assistance in education.
And ensure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity.
Right. And so then I'm saying, well, then what about infrastructure? What about all of that? He says, I'm not convinced. I think people can band together and do these things. I go, but I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. And he's like, well, like, you can have like there are like private roads, whatever. He says, but he goes, well, okay, maybe roads like might even concede that there may be some role, but that's basically it. Utilities, all of those things, that should be privatized. And it's just what he believes. And that's it. In other words, this is a belief. So now it's almost like a religion. So you can argue with me about religion, but you're not going to get anywhere because this is just my belief, So I thanked him for it. And that was the end of the conversation. It was just, that was it. So in other words, this is the type of person that any amount of left-wing argument is not going to work. Because they're going, well, no, as a matter of principle, just government should not be doing any of that stuff. So if it's doing it, it's wrong. Doesn't matter how effective it is, it's wrong. So, anyway.
All right.